I decided to do my demographic essay on Nylon magazine. And what made me choose Nylon magazine is that it was one of my favorite magazines back in the 2000s. What drew me to it originally was just this amazing cutting edge photography they had, this fashion, this kind of avant-garde and pushing the envelope. And I really enjoyed grabbing a hold of the latest issue and flipping through and just seeing what photographers were doing um, at that time. So I was kind of disappointed to find out that in 2017, Nylon magazine actually went to online only. And it looks a little bit more like a giant blog right now. It still very much has a magazine feel to it. One of the advantages they have of going to this format is they can take that amazing photography and expand it. And I'm not kidding, I like counted maybe over 100 pictures before I finally gave up on trying to count how many they have on there. It's kind of a running total through all of the months. So most of the images have young females in them. They're probably somewhere between the ages of about 18 to maybe 30. They're multicultural. They are, again, edgy, fashionable. They tend to be very strong looking, very powerful. And then there is a little bit of a flip side and juxtaposition of this romantic edge to it. Their content covers things like life, and within that category, life is family, I'm sorry, is kind of female centric. It's politics, it's sexuality, and astrology, strangely enough. I didn't know anybody did astrology anymore. They also cover politics, but they tend to be a little bit more towards their demographic and kind of narrowly, and I'll get to that in a moment. But they also do beauty, and their beauty is all about self-expression. Self-expression, kind of looking for something that fits you, not really going with the normal trends. So when I read this issue, which was the most recent issue in March, they did the feature story on Lena Waithe. Now, Lena Waithe is an Emmy Award-winning writer, but she started out as an assistant to somebody, and her job was to go out and find out if she could get into these different entertainment areas. And so it's fun to listen to her talk about how that prepared her for her writing career later down the road. Lena herself is a very strong woman, very, very forceful, very forward, but in a very tactful way. She's super inspirational. The magazine has tons of pictures of her. I mean, there's probably a dozen pictures of her in different fashions, different kind of edgy streetwear, again, that very urban look. Also featured was Natalie Morales, who's an actress, and AZ Bryant, who's now in a show on Hulu, and she's a plus-size actress. So her interview is all about making awareness, that body consciousness that we're trying to move towards as a society. That's really important in younger females to be able to look at themselves and accept who they are. And so I thought that was a really great article. I did read some of the political articles. They're interesting. They're not dealing with global issues. They're not dealing with things on a grand scale. They're not dealing with very broad type issues. They're very focused. And so one of those issues happens to be the HB 481 anti-abortion bill. So there's a couple of stories about that. The most recent one is Alyssa Milano, who definitely resonates with this demographic. She is now putting together a number of actors who are boycotting Georgia if they continue on with this bill and are not going to be coming there, and they're making that known. The other issue that I saw covered was Joe Biden and sexual misconduct. Again, something that's very prominent, very much the Me Too movement about being touched inappropriately. And so that is, again, something that focuses very much on that segment of young female voters and can kind of get them to motivate in the way the magazine is leaning towards. Advertising was interesting. So they do a lot of affiliate advertising at Nylon magazine. What that means is take the beauty section, for instance, they'll do a lot of reviews on different types of makeup. And within the reviews, you can click on a link to go to purchase that makeup. That's the affiliation. And so they make a certain percentage off of whatever people are clicking on to get to that advertiser's page. So that's how they're handling their advertising. They did have some more traditional advertising. One of those advertisers was UGG Boots, which is a pretty popular boot maker for that demographic. And I did notice there was, interestingly enough, the London Times. So a lot of coverage on the royal family, again, kind of falls in that demographic, but those seem to be less affiliated and more like they were ad placements. And getting back to the beauty, one of the reviews I read was on Urban Decay, and Urban Decay is a makeup company that does a lot of very trendy things. So right now they're doing a Game of Thrones release, perfectly timed with all the marketing that's coming out for Game of Thrones in the end of that season. Price points for that were anywhere between $19 to $250, and so we're looking at kind of an upper middle class group. I mean, these are women who can go out and afford to pay $20 for a lipstick. $250 will get you the whole set. So upper middle class. I did go back and try to request a media kit from Nylon Magazine. I did not get a response from them. I reached out a couple of times. My guess is they don't do one anymore because they're online only. But I did find a media kit from 2013, and it was very interesting. So the circulation and distribution at that time was 225,000, which for many of you, when you've read for some of the bigger magazines, that number is so tiny. I mean, it's crazy how small that circulation was. So kind of no surprise that they ended up going to a web format. It's too expensive to print in this industry and distribute and mail. So again, I thought that was a fascinating little tidbit. Also in 2013, the female 93%, that was the audience for the magazine. Of that 18 to 34 range, 27.5 was about the median age for the reader. Most of the readers were single and they were college graduates. A lot of them work in professional industry, so management mostly, and art. Art and media was a big demographic for them as far as careers go. As far as income goes, again, they are upper middle class. Median household was about $68,500, whereas individuals were $42,500 per year. So again, able to go out and afford the UGG boots and the Urban Decay makeup. I hope you enjoyed this. I really enjoyed looking up my magazine that I used to love so much. Unfortunately, kind of sad to see what it has become, but it's tough out there for the publishing industry and the magazines these days. So thanks for listening.